Hello and welcome to today's video. Earlier this year I did a video where I made a Godzilla out of two dinosaur toys. So I thought it would be fun to kind of revisit that idea but do a dragon out of some dinosaur toys. So today I'm heading to Walmart, which is not very close in my neck of the woods, and I'm going to see if I can find some dinosaur toys. So I came across this Walmart in the eastern part of the state, and I'm going to go in and see what they have. And you can see here I found a variety of dinosaur toys, and these are all pretty cheap. They're just $1 each. They're a little bit harder plastic than what I used for the Godzilla toy. They're still kind of flexible, but I think I'll pick out a few of these and see what I can come up with. All right, let's get home and get started on this project. I'm all set up and ready to go. I have my heat gun, the dinos I bought at Walmart, my Worbla, and some sculpting tools. So these dinos, if you want to look for them, they're called Savage Dinosaurs. So I'm going to start off by cutting off the tags. So I'll do that for all three of them. So I have a Brontosaurus style of dinosaur, a T-Rex style, and a pterodactyl. So I'm going to start with the pterodactyl and I'm going to cut the wings off. I'm just using my X-Acto knife. I did put a new blade in it. I want to make sure it's nice and sharp to cut through this plastic, but it really wasn't too hard to cut through with the sharp blade. So I cut both the wings off. Now I just want to trim them down a bit, make sure that they fit nicely against that Brontosaurus body. Smooth them out, and then I'm just going to use my Sharpie to mark where I want to put them. That way I can have them about as symmetrical as I'm going to get. So I've got those trimmed out. I'm really happy how that looks. So I'm going to go ahead and cut the head off my T-Rex style dinosaur and cut the head off of the Brontosaurus. What worked out really well is that just slid over the top of that, so I could peg that in place. And I took my X-Acto knife, trimmed off some of the extra plastic. Now I'm going to cut off of the feet off the T-Rex style one. I'm really happy how these back feet look. I think they'll work perfect for my dragon. I almost wish I would have picked up two of the T-Rex, but I didn't. So I'm going to go ahead and use his front feet for the front feet of the dragon. So I'm just cutting off the feet off the Brontosaurus. I cut them off a little bit of an angle so I can kind of bring my dragon back a little bit. And now I'm just going to shave down the neck a little bit more and cut off a strip of Worbla to cover up where the neck and the body meet, so I don't have like a seam line there. So I'm just heating up my Worbla using my ball tool and my needle tool to add some texture to make it look like that belongs and it's all just part of the sculpt. So now that I'm happy with that, I'm going to go ahead and take a little bit of Worbla, heat it up, and this will give me just enough Worbla to fuse the leg and the foot together. I want to make sure I don't have anything overhanging or any gaps. So I smoothed that in with the ball tool, and I went ahead and did that for the rest of the feet. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to patch that part in the wing where I cut that tag out. So I just heated up a little piece of Worbla, put it in that hole where the plastic was for the tag, and then just added some texture to kind of blend it into the wing. So with that done, I want to go ahead and attach my wings. So I've got some strips of Worbla here. I'm heating it up, making kind of a rectangular shape to go around there and smush that into the base of the wing and then push that into the body. Then use my ball tool and needle tool to add some textures to kind of blend that into the sculpt. So I want to just keep adjusting that, heating it up until I'm happy with it, and I'll fill in any gaps. Just have that texture of that Worbla going up, making it look like the wings coming out of the body. So now I'm happy with that one. I'll go ahead and do the other one, which I didn't film that part. Now I decided to go ahead and build up his front legs. I know they're going to be smaller, but they were way too thin. So I just added some more Worbla around there, and I'm using my needle tool and ball tool to texture it. So again, to make it look like it's all one continuous sculpt. So I'm going to go ahead and heat up some more Worbla, do it to the other leg until I am happy with the size and the shape of those. And I think it's fine that they're different sizes. I just they were almost just like too extreme. I didn't want those, the differences between like, T-Rex legs and arms. I want it more closer to what like a lizard would be. So with that done, I'm going to go ahead and make him some horns. On my Godzilla, I didn't sculpt any extra pieces, but for the dragon, I definitely wanted to. I didn't want to do too much, but I wanted to do enough to enhance it, and I really felt like the dragon needed some horns. So I'm heating up some Worbla, rolling it out, and getting my horn shaped. I tried some different shapes. I wanted to have it kind of like swirly a little bit, have it kind of have a spiral to it, but I didn't really like how these looked once I got them done. They didn't match well enough. So then I decided I'm going to smooth them out and give them a little bit of a curve. And I was really happy with how that looked. I got them pretty symmetrical. So I'm going to get those smoothed out and shaped, match those up. And then I'm going to go ahead and sculpt out like 2 discs. Think of like kind of rounded hockey pucks. And I'm going to put those on the head, and that's where I want my horns to be coming out of. So once I got those done, I attached those to the head. So I just heat it up, and then I pushed the horns into there. And so I thought those are a little bit long, so I trimmed the horns down, heated up again, and pushed them back in, and used my ball tool to add some texture. And then I'm smoothing those areas in to the head again to make it all look like it's one sculpt. And something I noticed when I was doing this, that I thought his neck looked a little weird, because I covered up that seam where the head and the neck meet, but it still bulges out a little bit. So I thought I'm going to cut off some strips of Worbla and put it around the neck and the tail. And so I just heated this up and wrapped it around. So it would give him almost, they're not like stripes, but it's kind of like stripes. But it would give him some texture, and it would give him, several of these like they were more intentional. So once I put the Worbla on, I just added some texture. And again, I went ahead and added 2 to the tail. So I was really happy with how he's looking now, but I thought the tail needed more. So I decided I'm going to give him like this spike. It's kind of like an arrowhead. So I just heated it up, and I wanted to make it look like it's kind of like his weapon, like he swings his tail around and, smacks his enemy with it. So once I was totally happy with the shape, I went ahead and attached it to the tail. Got it all smoothed in, and then I adjust his wings a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and let him cool. It doesn't have to cool overnight, but I needed a break, so I'll come back the next day. I'm going to add a coat of gesso, which is the surface prep. And this will make it so the paint adheres to the plastic better. So I'm just giving it 1 coat. Finish that up, and I will go ahead and let this coat dry overnight. Make sure it's completely dry before I start painting it. So I am going to paint it with acrylic paint. I'm using just a black base coat so I can dry brush over that. So I'm just covering the entire sculpture with black acrylic paint. So I've got it completely done. I let it dry some, and I went back in and I touched up any of the areas that looked like it needed a little more coverage, or there were some areas that had some gaps. I'm going to go ahead and let that dry overnight. Now we can start doing the base color. I'm using this ruby acrylic paint, and this is an opaque paint, so it should have good coverage. And I decided I wanted to do like the upper portion, so I like the top of the wings, the back, the head, the upper part of the body, but I didn't do like the underside of the wings and its belly with this. But I just went over all of that with this ruby red. So I'm just getting it all covered. I'm not really worried if it covers up the black completely, because I'm going to dry brush over this too. But I just wanted that black to make sure all little crevices were done. So once I'm done with that, I'm going to let this dry overnight. So there's a several day process doing this sculpture. Now I've got this gold paint. So it's a rich gold acrylic. It's a semi-opaque, I should say. And I did need to mix this up. So once I had that mixed up, I went ahead and just took what I had on my stirring stick, because I realized, hey, that's probably enough to do this project. So I just scraped that off into my little paint holder here. Now I'm just going to put away my paint so it doesn't dry out and start dry brushing it. So I'm starting with the wings and just doing a light dry brush over. And I'm really happy how this looks. It does take a few coats to get it to cover up that red, but I am just going over the top so you can see a lot of those crevices still have that red or black in there. And I think it has a really neat look by doing the dry brush. You can really see all that detail that's in that sculpt. And a lot of these dinosaur toys, and I mentioned this in the Godzilla video, their sculpts are really, really well done. And it's usually the paint apps that are kind of a lower quality. So now I'm done with the gold. I'm going to let that dry overnight. And I'm going to go back in with my gold and just touch up any areas that I thought needed a little more gold or you know, that I missed. And now I'm going to take some antique copper, and this is again, all these are acrylic paints, and what I'm doing is I'm covering the horns, the teeth, and all of my dragon's claws with this antique copper. And I am going to brush over it, but I want to have a different base coat than the black, red, or the gold. So the next thing I'm going to do is use this cloud white and this patio paint for the teeth. So I'm just taking that and brushing that over. I want to make sure it's nice and covered. Lots of times on my sculptures I'll do a white and yellow combination of dry brushing over the teeth. But with the gold, I didn't want to put that yellow in there and not have enough of a contrast, so I just stuck with doing just pure white with it. And this dragon should have a nice shiny smile. So I'm getting that done. I'm really happy how that looks. So now I'm going to use some rose gold acrylic paint to paint the dragon's horns and his claws. So I did have some separation with this, so I'm using this smaller stir stick to mix it up, and I just took my X-Acto knife to kind of scrape that off so I could use the paint on there, and that's going to be plenty for the little bit of area I'm going to do. So I'm finishing up this sculpture with the nails, getting them nice and pretty. Oh, it's so he's all ready to go out on the town. So I'm just touching up the last little bits, and once I'm done with that, I'm going to go ahead and let him dry overnight one last time, and we'll look at the final sculpt. So here is our finished gold dragon made out of 3 different Savage Dinosaur toys from Walmart. So they were $1 each. So I spent $3 on material there. Now, I could, sculpt a dragon myself from the scratch, but it would take a lot more time, and it probably cost more money to do it because I think Worbla is more expensive than buying those dinosaur toys, like equivalent amount. So it's a lot of fun to do this. And even if you're, don't have as much experience sculpting, I think this is a good project to start with because there's so much detail already in these. And if you want to make like a dragon for tabletop games or just have a decoration or just have a dragon toy hanging out. So you can see a lot of the detail there. Look at all that dry brushing detail. I was really happy how that turned out. I think it's a lot of fun to do dry brushing on these and seeing how much detail is put into those sculpts. Alright, well, I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you have ideas for future videos, please leave it in the comments down below. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe to my channel. I post new videos every week, and I try to do a live stream every week. So there's a lot of content on my channel, and a lot more content coming this way. Or coming your way. A lot more content coming out. Alright guys, thanks for watching, and remember, never stop creating. Bye.